Oh, 2, 3. We are not live, but we are alive. Hello, lovely Gary.
Hello, Rachel.
Hello, lovely YouTuber. How are you today? We are going to be watercolouring lovely trees and Christmas baubles today. Yes, we are. So all you need to do is grab your paints and we will be playing along with you. Lovely to have your company. Thank you so much for joining us. Lovely YouTuber, will you please hit the like button? It really does help us get out into the algorithm, and also we'd love to have you subscribe and hit the bell. So basically ding ding ding, do all those things, and then you will see us putting our content out every single Friday in our tea time tutorials, which is what this is. It should be called coffee, tea, water, occasionally vodka. No, we never drink vodka because I've got coffee. Gary, what have you got today? Your tea.
A cup of tea.
He's always a corporate man, is our Gary. You always have a tea, and I always go outside the box. Anyway, lovely YouTuber, if you would like to skip ahead the next little section, which is where we do a little bit of mindfulness and we talk about something that affects us in life and maybe you learn a lesson or two, you can, because I will put the time code below and you can go straight to that watercolouring, and it is going to be lovely festive fun today. But if you're sticking around, well, lovely Gary, I saw something today on the old gram, the old Instagram, and I did think it is such a good phrase. I know we've talked an awful lot about this kind of thing, but this is something that I have really realised and learned in the last year or so, actually. And the phrase was, I'm sort of misquoting a little bit here because I can't remember the exact words, but in general was, when I get what I want, I will find peace and happiness in my life. But instead of saying that, we should be saying, when I find peace and happiness in my life, everything else will fall into place.
Right.
Yes. Now, that is very, very true. And I can honestly say this hand on heart, because I was that person who used to always be sitting there, not in gratitude, and just thinking about, well, you know, when I get everything I want, my life will be amazing. It'll be amazing, and I'll be at peace and everything will be lovely. But the thing is, I never did get what I wanted because I was constantly putting it out there, when I get what I want, when I do this, when I achieve this. And also as well, for my podcast that is coming up very soon, I interviewed Cindy Grisdella a couple of days ago. And she came up with this great quote from Picasso, which once again, I'm misquoting. But he was basically saying that inspiration only finds you when you are working. So, which is a similar kind of thing. You know, don't wait to be inspired. Just start working and then the inspiration will find you. So it is all about doing, isn't it? It's about doing and believing and accepting, but also being happy where you are. And I absolutely promise you that when you find that peace within yourself, when you don't attach yourself to things, when you're not codependent, but when you just start working and putting one foot in front of the other, the doors will magically open. And I found that in the last 2 or 3 months, Gary. Suddenly doors are opening where I never thought that they would. It's all because I found that happiness.
Thinking about trying to find your zone, find your peace, find your harmony and everything like that, you need to start somewhere where you feel like, you know, you've got to get started. So for me, what I really like doing is my creative stuff. I like being in my studio here. I like getting creative. So what I do is I just come in here, sit down, I might put some paper in front of me. I've usually got my art materials around, and I'll just start playing. Just have a go, just making some marks on some paper or something like that. And then suddenly I start to find that I start to get in that creative zone. It's almost like I'm channeling in sort of like ideas and that. So then I start to explore. So I might come in here with maybe, oh gosh, Rachel sent me a task. She wants a new class or wants a new idea for a class. And I come in thinking, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do. But what I do is I come in here and just start to play and just start to get in my happy place. And then those ideas come. And then by the end of the day, I've probably got something started, which I say to you, look, this is what we're going to do. It makes you feel good. So it could be in your lounge. It could be at a park. It could be in the kitchen. It could be anywhere. So get in there, start playing around. It might be you start cleaning the cupboards. And just because that makes you happy, think, no, I'm going to tidy everything up. While you're tidying everything up, then you might come up with the ideas or what the answer is. That's what I'm saying. So just get in a happy place.
When you are in that position of constantly wanting, you know, when the grass is always greener, The grass is always greener. The neighbors have always got that and you want that, or
Yeah.
you know, you're at work and you want that, or whatever. That is a horrible feeling to have. It's a horrible feeling, because if you're always wanting something, it means that you're quite empty inside, because you're wanting to fill up that emptiness. But what you have to do is fill that emptiness, fill up your cup. You know, they always say you can't love someone else until you actually love yourself and give yourself that love. So you have to fill yourself up, and that isn't by getting those things and wanting those things, because when you get those things, if you're a wanter, you're going to want something else. So what you have to do is find within yourself the resources to fill yourself up and find your own peace and happiness. And then what a great feeling that is. Can you imagine?
The word is contentment. When you're content with where you are, what you've got, or anything like that. But that, and again, that doesn't come quickly. It doesn't come instantly, and it might not come to you through the whole of your life. But when you know you're content, that's when you don't want no more. You don't want for anything. So, and you know, I'm not saying want is a bad thing, because you know, if you want to strive, you want to move forward. I think that's what we do while we're here. Is that we want something, or we want to get somewhere, we want a qualification, or we want to achieve something. Now that's not bad. That's not a bad thing. But as long as you, by wanting something, wanting to achieve something, it doesn't make you feel half empty.
Yes.
That's what it is. Isn't it?
Because I want things for this business. You know, I wanted to create a podcast. So I'm doing it. And it would be lovely if I have 1 million subscribers on that podcast. But if I have 100 people listening and people are enjoying it, that's great as well. So that's the difference. And if I constantly sat there with that podcast and looking at the 100 subscribers and just going, oh, why isn't there 1 million? I'm never going to get that 1 million, because you're putting that out. So you have to be happy. And then that energy spreads out. It absolutely does. It works. It works. So
Very true.
We're going to get happy now with trees.
Oh, yeah.
But hang on. Hang on.
Christmas trees and baubles.
Yeah, I have something. Hang on.
What have you got?
Bring it in. Forgot to bring it in. Is it time yet?
Oh. Do you know, it's the last day of November when we're recording this. So tomorrow, when this goes out, will be the 1st of December.
So it's
and
like
I just think that is fabulous. That is fabulous. I did look, I found my Christmas hats. I've got everything out from the loft ready for Christmas to arrive. And I did find my hat. So maybe in the next couple of episodes, before we get to Christmas, we might be wearing some very Christmassy hats. That might be
I think I'm going to ring the BBC and get a full Mrs. Santa Claus outfit, you know, from some movie. Anyway, there you are. So right, here we are then. We're ready. So we'll be hearing the bell in the background probably.
That's fine.
Quite nice and warm.
I don't mind that.
So should we bring in your hands?
Yeah, bring in hands, because I've got a sort of one I've been playing with this morning. So let's have a look at that. Are we down on? Here we are. If you saw last week's episode, we were just creating baubles and just showing how you could paint baubles. So I've sort of like downsized that. And what I thought also we could bring in is some of these like Christmas tree shapes behind. So we're going to try a few techniques today. One of them is masking. So we're going to do some masking off with some tape. So I've got masking tape. I know, Rachel, you've got some washi tape. So we're going to have a little play with what tapes work well. One of the things, just while I'm talking about masking tape, is have a hairdryer, because tape comes off really well once it's warm. So when we dry between stages anyway with a hairdryer, but also it helps that tape get warm again and it lifts off much better. If you try to take off cold tape, you'll find it'll either take the paint and it'll take some of the paper off with it. So a hairdryer by the side. I've got my watercolor paints and I've got some things to make those bauble shapes this time. So last time we were using glasses. This time, and glasses are larger shape things. This time, these are literally little lids off of tubes of like ointment and things like that. So I've just taken off because they make nice small bauble shapes. I've got some pens. I'm using my Posca pens. I've got some paint brushes, clean water, and one for dirty water. I've got some paper towel, just if in case it all gets a bit too wet, so I can mop things up. I've got some PVA glue, and I've just put a little bit of PVA glue in the little lid there so I can just dab it, because what we might want to do is decorate with some either gold powder, glitter. I've got some sequins here, some little sequins I can add on to different things. And so this is a bit of a mashup, isn't it? It's a bit of a mash. I've seen these things online where, you know, you create these Christmas trees, but I just thought, well, we could do the Christmas trees with the string of baubles and just have a little play and create maybe another card, or just have a little bit of a play, a little bit of a seasonal festive play, just doing some paint techniques, really. I've done mine on this, is that nice sort of like paper, this sort of mixed media paper, which has got a nice body to it. Thinner papers tend to buckle up a little bit, but if that's all you've got and you just want to have the experience, then just use whatever paper you've got to hand. I'm going to put this one to one side. I'm going to start, let's get started from the beginning. So I'm just going to put that out and over the way, but I can still see what we're going to be doing. So I'm going to get a piece of paper, which is behind me. So get yourself a piece of paper. Now, card, so this is an A4 piece of paper. If you want a card that opens that way, you can fold it and you can stand up your images, and you can have your images going what I would call portraits, so going long way. So I'm just going to fold that down. So you could put your image coming down this way, but really you'd only get one Christmas tree in and a few baubles. But I thought, well, actually, let's just do something a little bit different. Let's do it what we call landscape. So going this way is landscape, and I can open the card. I've creased it. I've used this little tool, or you could use like a very blunt knife or a spoon just to crease it across the top there. Put that to one side. Now, first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to create those Christmas tree shapes. We're going to use the tape. What's nice about masking tape is you can just like tear off bits, lengths, and then you can just tear it across like that. So you want to create 3 varying sizes of triangles. Now, so we're going to just put the tape down, start over on this left-hand side, put it at quite a sort of a sharp angle. What's now, you can lift it up and reposition it. So you're going to have a sharp angle there. Then take another piece, roughly about the same length. Hope you can see this. I don't know the light. Can you see what I've done there? Got it there. I'll lift it up a few times so you can see it anyway. And then you're going to create like a triangle. So you're going to just put it the other way, down there. Just lightly press it. And then a piece across the bottom to create your first triangle. So you're just going to put that across the bottom, and I'll show you that. You see, there's my first triangle all in position. Then you can do another triangle by the side of it. This time you might not do such a big triangle, you might make a little smaller triangle. This is going to be another tree. So think about sort of a midpoint triangle. Put that down a little bit across the bottom. I'll show you that. There you go. Can you see that? So I've got big triangle, small triangle, or medium-sized triangle, and then I'm going to do a little diddy triangle over here. So I've got my 3 triangles. Now, I've been playing this morning. I just sort of like had a little play and think, well, what composition-wise? So that's one of the things. We can all learn these techniques, but I think you need to play with perhaps composition, where things are, where they lay, where you put them, and how things work together. And that's quite important, especially if you're talking about design and sort of think about trying to create something like a set of images on a piece of paper. This could be like for a Christmas card. So I'm just putting a little bit across there. So there we are. Now I've got 1, 2, 3 triangles going across. Now just with my finger, I'm just making sure that I've just smoothed the insides down. It doesn't matter if bits like around the outside are lifting up. That's fine. It's because we want to mask off areas within the middle. So that's what we're doing. Then we're going to move over to our paints. So the paints, I'm using these nice high tense colors. I like bright colors, and these are quite nice. These ones are what they call by Kohinoor, and these are brilliant dye-based watercolors. So I've not got any commission on them. Those are the ones that I really like using. The brushes, so let me just pull out a couple of brushes so you can see. I'm using a brush sort of that sort of shape brush, really. They're quite nice for this sort of practice. So sort of a reasonable sized brush. And what I will do is I will just give, what I do is actually, as we know, the paints always work better if they're a little bit damp to start with. So I just give them a little spray with some water. But if you haven't got that, you can just make sure that you've picked up enough color when you're working with this. You need to just damp them up a little bit. So the first color I'm going to use three colors, and I'm going to use three what I call secondary colors, or what are secondary colors. So I'm going to use orange, purple, and green. Okay, so they're the colors that I'm going to use, but you can use whatever combinations you want. But I would have a look at a little bit of color and what colors work well with others, or what ones complement each other, or what ones stand out really nice and bright. So I'm going to go in with orange first of all. So I'm just going to pick up a little bit of orange on my brush, just test it. Always test it on a piece of paper. And then I'm just going to make sort of like sweeping marks down the, just down the within the triangle like that. I'm just going to make some nice little sweeping marks with the brush. I'm going to kind of continue with the orange and just keep going in all the other shapes like so. So I'm just making little sweeping, almost like Z's running down. Now, pick up the purple, making sure you get a nice strong, making sure these colors are really quite nice and strong, but watery enough so that they blend quite now. Now, within wherever there's a white bit, put a little bit of purple. Try not to let the paint sort of merge, just go in between. It might touch and merge a little bit, but don't worry too much. I'm just adding in a little bit of purple in there. Now, what I'm going to do is just give it a little bit of a dry, just dry it a little bit so that it's not going to, I don't want it to bleed too much. I want those colors to really stand out. There you are. That didn't take much dry. So now we can go in with the brush again. And now, lastly, the last color I'm going to do is just the green. So imagine this is sort of like the green of foliage in with the colors as well. So I'm just picking up a nice bit of nice tense green. And where you see white, just put in a little daub of green. Just put in some green in between. Take time just to make sure that you've got all the little areas. You can still have a little bit of white there, but really you want to just where you see any little sort of like little dashes of white, you just want to try and get some green color in there as well. Right, let's just pick up a little there. Last one, a little bit of green there. There. That should be right. That's it. Okay, so I've covered those. I'm going to dry them again. I'll use my hairdryer. Get them. So this now is just drying them off completely. And what I want to do once they're dry is I'm going to carefully peel off the tape each time. So I'm going to just dry these. But I'm going to just, while it's still warm, I'm just going to carefully peel away this first one. So I'm just going to, while it's warm, just carefully peel off. And that was probably the last little tiny one that you did. So just carefully peel that away and you get a really nice, neat triangle. Warm up again. So get that tape for the next one, get that warm again. And I, through practice, I find that if you get this masking tape or whatever tape you're using, if you get it nice and warm, what happens is it's actually sort of warms up the glue on that tape. And therefore it's a bit more pliable to come off. So now I can do the next one. There you go. So we've now got 3 sort of stylized triangular, styly Christmas trees. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add little brown trunk to it. So I'm just picking up a little bit of brown paint. And the little trunk is going to be just a little, almost just like a little oblong, little rectangle at the bottom there, just to sort of represent the trees. You can give that a light little dry if you want to. Remember to be gentle with the hairdryer, because if you're doing this drying between stages, sometimes we like it that it sends the paint everywhere, but this time for these, we want the paint to be contained. We don't want the paint to go right across the page. So we're just being really, really gentle with the hairdryer. So we're just drying it gently. Okay, there you are. Now, what you could do, you've now got a design already. So you could just leave that. That could stay exactly as it is. You could write Merry Christmas in there. You could put some, you could use over here. I've got some of those stamps. So you can find these like in a haberdashery store or a craft store, and you could just stamp Merry Christmas across. So you might have a proper stamp which says the words Merry Christmas, and you could just do that across there and have that as it is. But as I said, this is a bit of a mashup. Now, Rachel, I just want to check, how have you done with your washi tape? I want to see how you've done. Let's have a quick look
Well,
before I
do you
move on to
know,
the next.
I was almost got it all off and then one bit tore, but it doesn't matter because I'll cover it in baubles. But I will just,
Okay,
I'll add in my card. So there we go. I've just done two
lovely.
trees. I did manage to get it all off, apart from this bit. You can see, look.
Ah, yes.
Yeah,
And that
shame,
was, and
shame.
but you that was washi tape, but when it was warm, it was coming off okay, was it?
Yes, it was. Yeah, it's just I was lazy and didn't warm the other bit up. But I
Ah,
thought I
see,
had and I hadn't. So yeah. No,
take your time. Okay, right. Let's move back. So let's go back on. So the next bit, let's have a look what we're going to do now. So we're going to just we're going to put on some baubles next. So we're going to just think about sort of strings of baubles. Now you can use a pen. Now what I'd say, now all different types of pens. This is a water resistant pen, so water and fade proof permanent ink pen. But just an ordinary biro would be fine. All I'd say was if you get water near this pen marks, what it can tend to do is slightly sort of bleed and sort of smudge a little bit, which is fine. That's good. But if you don't want that to happen, then just be careful where you put your paint on afterwards once you've used a non-water soluble paint. So this one, what you're going to do is we're going to do string of baubles across the top. And I'm going to just draw like a loopy line coming from one side to the other, just going across the page. So I'm just going to go 1, 2, loopy line, like that. You can see a loopy line running through that. And then I'm going to do another one. But if it goes, what I'm thinking is if I want these trees this time, I want them to really stand out. I don't want to decorate over the top of them. So when I do the next, I'm going to do another loopy line. But when I come up to this tree here, I'm going to go behind it. So I'm going to stop and then start the other side. So I'm going to do one loop, stop, and then come out the other side, loop, 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 and across like that. So I'm going to do that. I think for this session, we'll just do a couple of loops running across, because what we're going to hang from these loops is baubles. And so if you saw last week's version, as I said, you'll learn how to do like the slightly bigger baubles. We're going to do a more condensed, smaller version. So in front of me, I've got on this pad here, I couldn't say it's a pad, it's just a tray, it could be a plate. And I've put a bit of greaseproof paper over the top with a bit of wet tissue underneath. And I'm going to make this to put my sort of do my printing on. I'm going to pick up those same colors. So I'm going to put some purple there, like first of all, put my brush back in. And I'm just using this small little tube top, really. It's just a tube top, could be from toothpaste. This one is sort of like an ointment, and I'm just taking it off to use. And I'm just going to press that in there. What you could do, if you haven't got a little pad like this, is just press it either into your paint or just run a brush of paint around the rim of it. You're just going to get that, and you're just going to then occasionally along the strings is do some little purple. I'm just going to do the top one to start with, because what I don't want them is to dry out too much. So I'm just doing a few purple little circles like that. I'm going to just dry, while I've got this, I'm going to just use my bit of paper, my cloth, just to wipe off the paint from that. So I'm going to use another color on that in a minute. I'm going to pick up a brush. Now the brush has got nice clean water in it. And then I'm going to, we remember last week, we're just going to tease in the paint into the center with that clean, wet brush. You're just going to tease it. And remember, you don't have to go all the way right around the outside. Sometimes it's quite nice to leave just a little bit of white. Can you see that little bit of white in that lower right-hand corner down there? Now, I want that to happen because that could be a little highlight on the bauble. Wet your brush again and then go back to the other circle and just start to tease that in. And why we haven't done all purple all the way around is because, one, our hand's touching the work, and so that could start to smudge it. But also what we want is that paint not to dry too much. We don't want the paint that we've just made those marks with, we don't want it to dry because we won't be able to smudge it in. We won't be able to draw the paint in with our brush if that little circle has dried too much. So we're just going to do like that. So it all looks different variations of color for the purple running through, which is fine. So that's what we want. It don't have to be completely painted in. We're not picking up the paint and painting in the circles. We're literally using clean water to draw that color from that little printed circle, to draw it into the bauble, to give it a bit. And in fact, that gives it a bit more of a three-dimensional feel to it. Let's carry on. So we're going to just do, on that top line this time, we're going to do orange. So we're going to do some orange baubles. So I've done 4 purple baubles. So it's what we're doing is the consistency within the design. So the consistency is making sure at this point, we're not now going to go and pick up another color just because we want to use all the colors of the rainbow. And that's because that's what we've got in front of us. Now, you could do that, but you'll find that you've probably overworked your work. You've overworked your design. You've added too many colors. And so therefore it's all got a bit confused. So we don't want that. So I'm just doing a few orange circles now, and I'm going to go back and repeat exactly the same process. I'm going to come in. I am being careful where that I'm not putting my hands to smudge my work. And hopefully you've used your hairdryer or you've given yourself time to then make sure that your work has dried before you've done that. Okay, so that's that row of baubles. So then the second row, repeat the same process. So go back, get some purple. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to look. So if I've got a purple one above, I'm going to move across. I'm going to maybe put a purple bauble underneath an orange this time, if I can. If I can't, it doesn't matter. But I'm going to try. I'm going to do some purple ones now. Repeat again, bringing in the paint, just bringing that paint in. Remembering that I'm allowed to leave a little bit of white, because if I leave a little bit of white on the bauble, it just gives a little bit of a highlight. And it looks like the light is just bouncing off those baubles. I've done all those. Next one, orange. Clean my little lid. Get some orange. And again, I'm going to pop in some orange in between where I can find a little space. On there, that'll do. Just bring that in. There we are. Well, I'm quite happy with that. And I just thought maybe something in the foreground as well. So maybe what you could do is just a slightly larger couple of baubles that have fallen to the ground. So I'm just using this time. This is a lid off of a bottle, a jar, a bottle of something. I thought that might make a nice one. So I'm just going to do a couple of larger ones, almost like in the foreground, down here in the bottom here. Nice big purple one, and then I might find a slightly bigger lid here. I might bring that one in there, and that one over there, and then repeat the process down here as well. So we've got and then that is just adding a little bit of interest in the foreground of your design. Okay. Yeah. So now we've got to that stage. So we've got our design. If you find, like I can just see over here on this one, that I've got a little bit too much water or more wet paint on my card, it's fine. If I was just to leave it to naturally dry like this, it would be fine. But I know I'm going to use a hairdryer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of paper towel, twizzle it a bit, and I'm just going to dab it in and let it suck up some of that paint. Because otherwise I just know as soon as I put my hairdryer on, it's going to shoot the paint out. And I want to really try and keep the design really nice and clean. Now I'm going to make sure I'm going to put my hairdryer on quite low. It's not on high. And I'm going to now just dry my baubles. There we go. And at that stage, that's the stage, you could leave it at that stage. If you're happy with that, then you could just leave it at that. But what you can do now is you can pick up your back to your biro and actually draw maybe the little tops to the baubles, which if you think about it, the baubles got like a little rectangle, well, actually it's called a trapeze, the shape. So if I draw it on a piece of paper, the type of shape you're drawing is that shape. That's the shape at the top of the bauble. So it's called a trapeze shape. So it's a bit like a rectangle, but it's just a small rectangle with slightly slanted sides. So you're just going to go over that. So you're just going to animate that with some marks. And even though you're keeping the marks really quite simple, the eye and the brain start to understand them as little baubles. They're not just balloons or things that they're baubles.
I love the idea of sitting down and batch making these cards and, you know, sending them out to people.
Yeah, I mean, once you've got everything set out in front of you, and you could be, you know, like you do it in like a conveyor. So you do all your trees, do maybe 5 at a time, 5 sets of trees, and then you do your lines across all of them. Because once you've got in the flow of doing that sort of like that squiggly line across, you can do them across to 5 of them at a time,
Yeah.
and then you've got your printing going on. But as I say, just do small when you're doing the printing. The secret of the printing is don't let that, when you press the circle down, so you're printing the circle, don't let them dry out completely, because you won't be able to then, once it's dry, you'll find it quite hard to then blend the color in. So I usually do them when they're sort of just freshly done, and that works quite quickly. So now we've got all the little bauble tops put in place. But what else can you do? So you could get your Posca pens out, and maybe if we're going to use Posca pens, again, careful what colors you choose. Make sure you're not going for everything in the rainbow in the kitchen sink. You're just going to maybe stick to the colors that you've used in your design. You might want to put a few sort of like dots around your trees, which could be like colored lights in there. So you could just start, and I'll do a little bit more of that. You might want to add some sticky sequins. So you could have a look at what sequins you've got, or bits and pieces, or go and have a look if you've got anything. And you could use a little dab of glue. So I'm using just a little bit of PVA glue, and you might dab a little sequin in on top of the tree, or even maybe you could have one as a baubles or something like that. You might take a little bit of glue, and you might just run a little bit of glue around, not all over it, but maybe you might just pop a little bit of PVA glue around maybe some of the orange baubles that I've done. And I've got some gold powder, some gold glitter powder. You might just have ordinary glitter bits and pieces, but you could just spread a little bit of that out. What I'm going to do, we always used to do this as children, always have a piece of paper underneath. We're using glitter or anything like that. And I know last week you had glitter everywhere, Rachel, didn't you? You had your stars
everywhere.
So the secret is take a piece of just ordinary plain paper, always put a crease down it, because that's going to help you then gather all the glitter back to put it back in the jar. So you can put that on top. Then you can shake on your glitter. So you could just tap it on. This is very fine glitter. So this is more like a powder. This powder you can use as just a glitter to go on the top. You can incorporate the powder into the paint if you want to as well. But it just gives a little sort of a nice sort of sheen to your work as well. I'm just going to add that in. So what I've used is a dry paintbrush, and I've just tapped it in because I want to get it into the areas that I want to put it. And then you just tap it off. You might want to just give that. You're just giving that a blow. Hopefully, I don't know if you can see that. It's very subtle, my glitter. Very subtle. I don't know if you can catch that in the light. So I've just done that as well. So I'm just going to, so that's something you could do with glitter. And then of course, what you do is you then fold up your paper, and all your gold powder or your gold glitter can go back, tap it back into the jar. Hopefully you've not got it in the carpet, on your clothes, and you'll be forever trying to clean that up. So you can do that. I'm just going to do a little bit more Posca penning, because I do love my Posca pens. You could use felt tips, and I'm just doing little dots. You could draw little baubles, anything you want to. Don't be afraid to go outside of the tree, so that a few of the dots are outside. Gives you an idea of like that. And these Posca pens, they're just like felt tips, but they've got acrylic paint in them, or acrylic ink, and so therefore you get a really nice. They paint the nice colours, and they paint over things. They're quite nice. They don't disappear too much. They actually sit on top of the work, which is quite good. To do like hours of fun.
They're on my Christmas list.
Are they? Nice little pack of them. Yes, it'll be great for you. Right, there we are. How you done, Rachel? Let's have a look at what you're doing. How have you done?
Okay, I'll bring myself in. Hang on.
Bring yourself in. Let's have a look.
Just finishing off. Finishing touches.
Oh, nice. Yes. Lovely. Ho, ho,
like
ho.
Yes. I've just used the powders.
Yeah.
That we said last week, the makeup powders.
And are they loose powders inside those?
Yes. So because when you use them as an eyeshadow,
Yeah.
You just put them on the skin with a brush, and then you get that kind of.
So they're actually, I bet they're hardly any different to my powders that I've been using.
Yes.
And these are probably much more expensive to buy.
Yeah.
Because they're crafting stuff, and so they just make it more expensive. But if you've got some, you see in the makeup area, and you see some powder, glitter,
Yes.
you know, something that's a bit shimmery, you could just use, as long as it's powder, you could just use them on it, can't you? Yeah, that shimmers, doesn't it? And it's subtle. Actually, it's you know, I actually prefer it than glitter. I mean, I know we've always had glitter, and glitter's great fun, but actually the subtlety of that, just the shimmer of that, it's nice.
Yeah. And then I put my little star on the top of the Christmas tree, of course. Ta-da!
Did you draw that star?
I did, yes. I did it with my little gold metallic pen look. So
yeah,
but you can really
look at
see
you
that.
with all your art materials, Rachel. but honestly, how many months ago we had nothing? You had started with nothing.
I know. I love the idea of just sending these out, and you know, they're really nice personal cards that you've made yourself.
Well, as you know, Rachel, as we said, you know, things are getting more expensive. You might be able to afford to buy everyone presents, but you could make them a card and send them a card.
Yes.
I just think it's a really nice sort of personal thing to do. And I would definitely write on the back, so people realise when they get it, because not everyone realises that you've perhaps done it yourself. They might think, oh, you've gone and bought that or from somewhere. But you write on the back, handmade by whoever you are at the back, handmade by Gary. So that people know that you've sent them a made card.
Yeah. I think they're lovely. Very, very nice indeed. Oh, well, there we are. So we have spent the morning taking our baubles.
I'll wait till later.
Oh, I love that, Gary. I love these cards. So
They're
nice.
fab, aren't they? Really, really
so
cool.
Nice.
You see that? Look at that. Brilliant.
Yeah, really, really good. Perfect. So, well, lovely YouTuber. If you've enjoyed that, you know what we're going to say. Yeah. So what? I'm wearing this hat. I'm kind of getting into the character now. I've been a cheeky little elf. I like it. Feels good. I don't want to be Mrs. Santa Claus. I don't want to be Santa Claus. I want to be a cheeky little elf in the corner causing mischief. Yes, so please do like it if you can, and subscribe to the channel and hit the bell, because then you'll be notified when we load content. And we do that every single Friday, and we try and sort of change it up a little bit. Obviously, we're doing festive things at the moment. I do apologise if you've clicked on this video and it's now June the 1st and about 300 degrees outside. But you know,
get prepared. Be ahead of the game.
Get prepared. Yes, we've loved having your company, so thank you. But there are now over 70 tea time tutorials. Wow. And there are some with some lovely guests as well. If you do like watercolor, have a look at the Crystal Tan watercoloring session, because she is a proper, I mean, we're proper as well, but this is like her living. She does watercolor. Amazing. And that was actually a beautiful, lovely, mindful session. So I do have a look at that one in the playlist. Right, lovely, Gary. I think it's time to go now. I may continue my extravaganza, because I did buy myself a lovely watercolor pad. So I have plenty now, pages to play with. So
I'm so impressed. You're actually starting to get materials, and that's how it gets to you. This creative stuff that we're getting involved in. It actually, then you start to look and have like, oh, I want to buy that pad of paper. Oh, I want to buy that Posca pen, because that's how it starts to get you in. So for someone, remember, you did nothing. You did none of this, Rachel.
I remember when I bought this board, and I had to write to you all, Gary, my other sewers, and ask you to send me something to put on it, because I had nothing. And if I just tip the camera there, look at that now. That is all full of my stuff. Yeah.
It's going to take the house down in the end.
The whole wall's going to come down. Then it'll be an open gallery, literally. Right, lovely, Gary. Thank you so much. And
Okay.
thank you to you, YouTuber, and we will see you next time.
Bye-bye. Fabulous. That was really good.